then have it be live. So you don't have that opportunity. You don't have the opportunity to have it be scripted, right? So that is our hypothesis here. That is what we've been testing. And we actually, all of this, we haven't even released these pieces yet. But starting in June, this format of show that you're going to see here tonight, we're actually launching 5 other shows as well that are all different hosts, different types of groups, and creating some really fun community events in the way we do it. And you double dip. It's a podcast, it's an event this way. Tiffany will actually be hosting a Tuesday night event that's all about women in business. Tiffany is my coach that helped me write my book. She's written 11 books herself. She's a total badass, like incredible lady. And the lineup of speakers and women that she's gonna be interviewing on Tuesday nights, super cool. But my favorite host is the one right next to me. Sorry, Tiffany. This is the one that kind of won me over, right? So Briosha, we decided, we're like, you know what, let's tell our story together. I have been so blown away with being a part of Briosha's life for the last year and a half. I think you know her story. Those of you that know her story. To be able, when I met her the first time, and I'm like, wait, that's what you're going through right now. Like, that's what you're in the middle of grieving and working through, but you can still carry that much light and happiness and love. Like, I want to know more about you and I want to connect with you. And that connection led to us now being engaged.
Crazy.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, give her a round of applause. Let's give her some love. How are you feeling tonight?
I'm feeling good tonight. I'm a little bit less nervous than I was the other few times, but yeah, feeling good.
I completely just threw her in the fire with this. I'm like, you're doing, and I'd listened to her do a couple episodes. Hi, guys. How are you? I'd listened to her do a couple podcast episodes on other shows and things, and I'm like, wow, like when she tells her story, it's so powerful. And then seeing her be unleashed has just been so cool.
Well, it's crazy. I say all the time, he's the professional speaker and I'm not. I've done a few podcasts before. And so he's like, hey, let's start a show together. Okay, with a live audience. All right. I don't know what I'm doing, but that's okay.
Yeah, we didn't give her the fine print at first. Like, we're going to do it live. We're going to do it this way. So anyway, she's been awesome. Here's how the night's going to work. So we are going to do 2 interviews tonight. So for people at home that are watching, like on the live stream, or you, like, it's just one kind of show you'll see. But after the fact, we're going to go basically edit those episodes into one interview, and they'll be put out separately. So there's 2 interviews. We'll take about a 10-minute break in between so you can kind of chat, hang out. We've got some snacks and drinks over there, by the way, if you guys want some stuff in the cooler. Hi, Paris. How are you? He goes immediately.
He's like, okay,
not the kind of drinks you're probably hoping for. I'm sorry, but there's some Coke Zero or whatever. But we'll take that interview, and then we'll do the second interview, which will be Mo and Kirsten. And we're going to start with Mike and Lexi here in just a second. So what we'll actually do is we're going to kind of reset this, because for those that are watching the episode, it's going to start here like in just a second. You get the live in studio audience, casual talk, and then we'll move right into it. The hilarious thing is, the first time we did this, we had like 50 people here. It was hilarious. I stepped up in front of the group and everyone was just like,
it was so tense.
It was so awkward. And I'm like, what is going on?
You could hear every single sound. I was like so scared coming onto that stage.
And I realized it's because no one knew how to act. Like, no one had been to something like this before. So they're like, are we supposed to be quiet? Can we laugh or this? And so learning now, like, no, have fun, laugh, get involved. We even have a microphone up here. So if there's a point in the night where you're like, I want to hear this from Lexi or whatever, raise your hand, grab my attention, and we'll do it. Like, there are no rules. It's just supposed to be fun.
That would be fun.
Yeah,
you guys should do that.
We haven't really tested that yet. So if you want to do that, do this. Huge thanks to Hunter. Hunter is my head of ops with everything at WTF.
Let's go.
Honestly, like how we've kind of restructured the studio and built, he has headed up everything, and it's been so cool to see all that.
Everyone needs a Hunter, by the way, just not ours.
Yes, he's amazing. All right, so we are going to reset. I will give a quick introduction to the 2 of you, then we'll bring you 2 on the stage. You both are already mic'd up. You'll sit here and here. You can just throw the throw pillows behind, because they are completely for show. And once you're sitting on the couch, they're a joke. We'll talk this way, and then we'll end up that episode. One of the other things, especially if you watched the first 3 episodes that we did release, were just the 2 of us and our story and her story. Briosha is an incredible writer. She's kind of a poet in the way she writes. And so we're going to be starting most of these episodes with her kind of writing something that she's written, and this will be something that's actually posted tomorrow too. You've written a pretty cool little Mother's Day tribute.
Yes.
With your thoughts. So we'll start with that reading. I'll come back on. We'll get the two of you, and then we'll go. Does that all sound good? Any questions? Already you're less stiff. This is going to be more fun. I
Hey,
appreciate
cool.
it. Did you
Let's
get
do
me one
this.
too? I'm just teasing.
If someone
All right.
wants to video me reading, by the way, I would love that.
Oh, yeah. Just a casual one. Tiffany will get a little video too, just a casual video. That'd be fantastic. Okay.
Center, yeah.
And then when we'll pull this and then just stand here and then bring those two up.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, now I'm feeling nervous. All right. Okay. In honor of Mother's Day weekend, I've written this letter to all the moms out there. Motherhood looks different for all of us, whether you're a mom, missing a mom, dreaming of being one, or navigating your own story of motherhood. I honor you. I used to think I understood what being a mother meant, but now it's layered, it's complex, and somehow so much more meaningful. For those of you who have been following my story, you know I have 2 kids, one I can hold and one who holds me, one on earth and one on spirit, one in spirit. This weekend brings up a lot for me and for all of us, the joy, the heartache, the miracles, and the memories. Being a mom has broken me open in so many ways and also inspired me in life and love in a way I've never known was possible. I don't have all the answers. I just have my experience. And what I know from that is this: love, especially the love between a mother and a child, is something that can never die. So wherever you are, whatever you're holding, I just want you to know you're not alone. Your love is felt, your pain is seen, and your presence matters. Thank you for being here with us today. I love you. Oh, I was a ball baby writing that.
I said like 2 hours ago, I'm like, do you want to write something for Mother's Day?
No, he said, do you want to say something? And I was like, I'll just write something.
Yeah, and you read that. That's awesome. Great job. I love it.
Thank you,
All
guys.
right. Tiffany, do you mind shutting that door for me? Thank you.
Thank you.
And now you left me.
I had to go put my journal down.
All right. Okay, well, hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Fully Engaged. We have an awesome couple that we're about to bring up here, Mike and Lexi Rogers. They just got married like a month ago.
Yes.
They had an epic wedding in the Caribbean. We're going to hear all about that, how they met. They both have been very successful in their professional careers. Both have worked, both have traveled, both have built different businesses, and they both have had previous marriages. They both have 2 children, almost the same age, 2 children each from their previous marriages, and now have found something different about their connection here that we want to explore, that we want to dive into. For those of you that this is the first time listening to our show, we got engaged just a couple months ago. Yes, it's pretty cool ring. You got a rainbow moonstone. Yeah, it's something that fits our, airy, hippie brioche, right? And we decided that we want to take our relationship intentionally, that we don't want to do this by accident. And what's the best way to do that? We want to find couples that are winning and ask them why. So we are interviewing 100 couples before we get married, and you're going to hear one of them tonight.
Woo, I'm so excited. I love this couple. Actually, we got engaged in Maui, and the house that we stayed at was their vacation home.
Yes.
So they have a special place in my heart because that was the best trip of my life, the best day of my whole life, and very sweet of them to let us stay there.
Yeah, for those of you that listen to our story, it kind of fell together literally 5 days before we left.
Yeah.
And it was all because of this couple, their generosity, love, energy. You're about to feel in spades. So please give a huge warm welcome for Mike and Lexi Rogers. Come on. We're up these stairs here. Come on. They kind of hesitated for a minute there. I could see it. They're like, this is the last chance. All right, let's get rid of these pillows.
I don't get up here.
Those are gone.
Hello. Thanks for being here.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you, brother. All right.
That was just beautiful, by the way.
Thank you. I'll give you a hug too.
They're good. Roll.
Okay.
He good over there? All right.
You all sound great. Okay, great.
Let's start right here. How did the two of you meet?
Take it away.
She's like, your turn.
I grew up here in Utah, but I was living in Texas. I knew I wanted to come back out to Utah. I've got family out here, friends, love to ski, love to mountain bike, love the outdoors. So I'm divorced. So hey, why not jump on the dating apps?
Yes.
Kind of check out the.
Which one?
you
We
know.
got to ask. You know, for the
Hinge.
people that want Hinge.
Yeah.
Got to
So-
give the ladies the hand. I love it. All right.
And so there was this profile. Is this working?
Oops.
Yeah, when you sat down, I think it popped off.
Okay. Should I
We
just
don't
hold it
need to
like that?
listen to Mike.
Yeah, nah, you don't need me. Yeah. Unimportant one.
We'll take
Yeah.
that whole set and just reset it right to.
Yeah.
I'll just ask you how the two of you met. Sorry. Do it better this time.
I will.
That's what it was.
Yeah, that was practice round.
Okay, well, we start most interviews right here. How did the two of you meet?
We met on Hinge. I wish I had a cooler story, but we met on the dating app Hinge.
I can see that she would be on Hinge because you want to be in charge, right?
Well,
you want to make the first
I
move.
don't know. I think that's Bumble.
Oh,
what you're
yeah.
talking about.
I don't know the difference
Yeah.
between all these dating
That's
They
right.
apps.
Bumble's that one.
Yeah, men can reach out to you, and it's good because I wouldn't have never reached out. I just window shopped
Yes.
all the time.
Okay.
And her
But-
profile was actually, you couldn't really tell what, you could kind of see what Lexi looked like, but it was still kind of mysterious.
Okay.
And I found out later it's because her daughter put together the profile for her. And so,
Did you know?
Yeah, I knew.
Okay.
Yeah. See, so I was single for 13 years after
Okay.
my divorce, and I didn't date much because I was a single mom and worked all the time. But I would window shop.
Sure.
And he was having a hurricane in Dallas, and he was in the bathtub, and that's how that conversation started. So
yeah,
it was,
it was, yeah.
yeah.
She seemed
Please
like she,
go on.
yeah, tornado, not hurricane, but tornado.
Oh yeah, tornado.
Tornado
yes.
was going on. I was actually in the bathtub. We started to communicate, and she was really fun. She had a great personality. I could tell that she was really attractive, and it wasn't until I actually met her in person. So I
We had
was
good
moving.
banter.
I was moving from Dallas to Utah, and so first date, this cute little blonde popped around the corner, and
Did she look like her profile picture?
she did, but her profile picture was still some of the pictures were far enough away, or they were kind of a little. So she did. She better than her profile picture. Like
Good answer.
She walked around the corner. I'm like, thank you, Hinge. Oh my gosh. Yeah, and it wasn't until later when I got to know her, I was like, wow, she's beautiful. Outside and inside, like beautiful. So
Yeah. And so you weren't living in the same state. So
We're
you're
not.
going back and forth. You got a little bit of banter going on. And then what makes you all of a sudden, like, that's a huge jump now to, like, if you're going to meet up. Was it happenstance or did you make the effort?
Well, I scheduled a whole bunch more ski trips after the first date because I'm like, I have to come back out.
Okay, 'cause
And
she was in
so
Utah.
She was in Utah.
Okay.
I was coming out here to ski, but the real reason I was coming out here is I wanted to meet her again. So first date was just restaurant. Second date was a comedy club. Third date was brunch.
But you got to tell them about that second date. The best one.
The best date?
Yes.
Yeah. So, of course, I was a gentleman. I offered to pick her up. She
Of
said, no,
course.
thanks. I'll meet you somewhere. And she's super attractive. And so I rented a hotel downtown Salt Lake
That's ambitious.
because I wanted to be close to ski resorts. But really, and this came out later, I was like, hey, it'd be awesome if fireworks flew.
This is
She
the second date.
This is the second date.
Yeah, this is the second
First
date.
date,
Okay.
super respectable.
Yes.
Sure.
Second date, I was hoping.
Yeah.
She,
All bets off.
and no, she dropped me off and
I
said,
drove him back to the hotel, and I could just tell. But I was like, one,
I'm like, hey, do you want to come up? No.
it's our second date, and two, like, that's a Hampton Inn, buddy. Come on.
Well, it really came out later. She's like, well, if it was a better hotel, would that really make a difference? She's like, no. I'm like, well, then
No, but
Hampton
it's
Inn was
the
the right
principle.
choice.
The fact you thought you were bringing her back, right?
Yeah.
You
So-
can't have a nightcap at a Hampton Inn.
No.
You
No.
can, not with Lexi. So,
So he's super into you. How are you feeling at this point?
So after that night, I kind of laughed driving home because I was like, he totally thought that, something was going to happen.
Gotta shoot your shot.
And yeah. And,
Yeah,
and I let him fall, but
she did.
Yeah. So, but then he came back a third time, the third date. Right?
Third date was brunch. And
Safer.
Safer.
Yeah.
Safe, closer to her home, but I still didn't know exactly where she lived. The third date, like every date was super authentic, super real. What really stood out for me about Lexi is, she's beautiful, but the reality is the quality of the conversation and how real that was and authentic, and it just resonated at a completely different level than anything else, any other date that I've been on. And so I wanted more of that.
There was depth to her.
Oh yeah.
Well, what was different about our conversations is they were actual conversations. Like we were talking about our experiences, and it wasn't, when you go on a first date, you're not supposed to supposedly talk about your exes or the experiences that
There's a lot of rules when it comes
there's
to
a
first
lot
dates.
of rules and stuff like that. Well, it was just comfortable, and it was just like, hey, this is what I've been through. This was my experience. This is, what I want moving forward. And he was completely honest.
Yeah.
So you can tell him what you told me if you're comfortable with that.
Sure. Yeah, we'll get there. We'll get to, if you want. So, what I realized is first date is always interesting. I typically wouldn't go back in history on that first date, depending on the type of date.
Yeah.
This was such an open, vulnerable date. I learned a lot about her and her kind of past. And so I wanted her to know me and my past. And we were both divorced. What worked well, what didn't work well. And taking a lot of accountability on my end of hey, look, I realized that I was a phenomenal dad. I was a great provider. I don't think I was an emotionally connected spouse. And that over time really created challenges. And by the end of my previous marriage, I felt like we were roommates. And when I reflect back, I take a lot of that on me because my ex actually really worked on herself. And I think she emotionally outgrew me. And her emotional intelligence was so much higher than mine.
Wow.
And I was okay just being okay because we had a good life. Financially we were doing okay. We had great kids. But there was intimacy was missing. And intimacy I equated with sex and that connection. Intimacy isn't that. Intimacy is vulnerability and transparency and trusting the other person to actually see who you are, not the projection. And I didn't learn that till later, and I reflected back. So we had this really deep conversation about that. And I think what I heard later, Lexi's like, hey, I actually thought that was really neat that you took accountability and you spoke highly of your ex because she's great.
Yeah, I love that. I've said something similar to her over, our time dating of like, not only do you make me feel comfortable to be myself, but I like who I am when I'm with you.
Exactly.
Right? And when those two things line up, it seems like that's what you felt and you hadn't before.
I would say I probably was more interested in her at first than she was interested in me, although we had a lot of fun going on dates, etc.
I'm just very cautious.
Sure.
I'm just very cautious.
Well, let's talk about that. So 13 years, you are a single mom, and I would imagine you've got to kind of shut yourself off to that, right? Like you're not looking, you said you're window shopping, right? Yeah. What shifted that to all of a sudden make you take it seriously?
Well, so just a little bit of a backstory. It was a really messy divorce.
Okay.
So I was healing, right? Yeah. And I just, a lot of time had passed and I had something to prove to myself. So when I was married, it was the typical Utah thing. I went straight from my dad straight to my husband, had my girls at a really young age, right? And then when I got divorced, everything was ripped out from underneath me, right? So I had to pull everything up from my bootstraps and be like, how am I gonna make my money, put a roof over my head, support my girls, and all of that
And
stuff.
how long had you been married?
10 years.
10 years? Okay.
10 years.
Wow.
Yeah. So I did all that, and what ended up happening is I was on this journey, not even realizing it, but I went totally masculine and forgot everything about who I used to be and was totally out of touch with my feminine. So one, I don't think I was approachable in any way, shape, or form.
Did you have RBF?
Big time. Yeah.
Mike
big
nodded his
time.
head too.
Yeah, that, and I just, timing is everything, and I just wasn't ready. And I had to get to a point where I realized that if I wanted to bring love into my life, which I did after the 13 years, that I needed to be who I wanted to attract in. So what that means is I needed to be financially, mentally, spiritually, and physically strong. And it took me all that time to do that. And then when my kids were a little older, I finally was like, okay, it's okay for me to maybe have a personal life.
Yeah.
But for a long time, it was a lot of isolation,
Yeah.
and so.
And I would just add, what was really cool, I didn't know this at the time, she actually manifested, so she put it out in the universe of what the attributes she was looking for, and she didn't show that to me until later. And actually, she put that into her wedding vows.
Those were my vows.
Those were her vows.
So cool.
Yeah.
And when you-
So I was on. Yeah. Sorry, I didn't. Mean to,
Okay.
I was on the road, and my daughter packed up my condo before we moved in together, and right before we went to St. Lucia for our wedding, I was cleaning out my closet, and I found this manifestation letter that I wrote, and it was in November 2020. My ex-husband had just passed away from brain cancer, and I think that was the turning point for me, because there's different types of loves, and for me, I've had 3 loves in my life. My daughters have 2 different dads. So my first daughter, that was my high school sweetheart, her dad, my first everything, right? The childhood love. And then my youngest daughter, I married her dad, and he raised the both of them. And it was a messy divorce, and when he passed away, before that, the second dad, yes, the first husband, only husband, I was only married once, yeah. So a lot of healing took place between him and I and my girls, right? And so I think it was only then when I was fully cracked open and forced to sit in my feelings, because there was that, and then there was COVID and all those things, and I think over all that time I just got numb and didn't know how I felt, right? So I was forced to sit in my feelings, and I remember this, like, I'm a hippie, it was a new moon, so I was writing down all my intentions, totally.
Yes.
And that's what I wrote. I wrote down that, I realize now that in order to bring somebody in, I have to be all of those qualities.
You have to be giving that.
Yeah, we have to be the same in order to get. I
What
have
do
to
you
give.
what do you offer in a relationship, and then what do you want in a relationship?
Yeah,
And I
exactly.
felt that the first date. That was the difference. I felt someone who had actually done the work, who had actually really was grounded with herself and what she wanted. She was really actually very clear what she wanted. She's like, hey, if you're not interested in getting married again, that's okay. You seem like a nice guy. But I want to get married. I want to find that person.
That's awesome.
And it challenged me to say, my response was, when I find the right person, I'm 100% in. I'm moving to Utah, so I'm like, that's not what I'm looking for right now, but I'm not going to say no to that if the universe serves that up. And it did.
Yeah, I just wanted somebody that is doing the work, has done the work, and continues to do the work.
Yeah.
Right.
That's interesting. Before we get to how you knew, I want to just ask, you said you're the father of one of your children who you were married to passed from brain cancer. Like, how did that take a toll on you? Obviously, you've been out of the relationship for a while, but that's the dad of your daughter.
Well, before Mike, so he was the love of my life.
Yeah.
And he left the marriage. I tried to make it work. He left me.
Yeah.
So there was this big open wound there,
Yeah.
right? And so, and over the 13 years, there was a lot of back and forth and all of that stuff. So it was just one of those difficult passionate relationships is how I would put that, if that makes sense. And we had court battles for 8 years of the 13 that we were, so there was a lot. So in January, final court battle ended. So I thought, I'm never gonna have to see this SOB ever again, and I can get on with my life. And then I got a phone call, and I saw his name on my phone, and I'll never forget this. I picked up the phone, and I said, what do you want? And he was like, Lex, I have brain cancer. And I was like, what do you mean? Like, it doesn't happen that fast. And I remember a week before that, my daughter was like, Mom, Dad's being really weird. He doesn't remember a lot of things. And he drank a lot, so he had some issues. And I was like, Ken's, he's okay. You know, sometimes when people drink, they forget things, but he's okay. So anyways, me and my daughter, that day when I got that phone call, we were on our way out the door, and I told her, like, something came up at work, I'll be right back. And because I could tell that he was weird, and I was like, where are you? And he's like, I'm outside of the Harmons by our old house. So I went and got him. And on the way to get him, his brother called me and told me what was happening, that this is real, and he had got him into a doctor up at Primary Children's, and that it is brain cancer, and it's in his frontal lobe. Well, because it was in his frontal lobe, he forgot short-term memory, but remembered long-term memory, so he thought he was still married.
Oh my gosh.
So, because he thought he was still married, I just, you know, showed up. You know, you do a lot for your kids, and I just showed up to not confuse him anymore. And then, as he was sick and stuff, I explained to the girls, because, you know, they stepped in, they took care of their dad, like my whole family did, but I had to step away. So I moved to Denver for 3 months just to gather my bearings, and I get nervous when I talk about all this stuff. 'Cause
Take a deep breath,
yeah,
this is heavy.
It is, it's heavy, it's emotional, but it just, you know, rounds out the whole picture.
Yeah.
So anyways, I would talk to him all the time when I was in Denver, and
And at this point, he thought you were still married.
yeah, because he would call me and be like, where are you? When you coming over for dinner? Like,
And you just explained to him that you're living in a different state.
no, I just would be like, I'm at work, you know,
Oh,
I'll be
wow.
home later, or like stuff like that.
And were you
Just-
living in a different state at this point?
I was in Denver, and
Oh,
he was
okay.
here, so
Okay.
yeah, so, but he'd easily forget, right?
Oh,
And then,
so it was very short term. Wow.
And so then my daughter called and said, you know, Dad can't talk anymore, I need you to come down here. And so I went and I spent a weekend there
Oh, wow.
with him, and then I just said, and he wasn't talking at the time, and I just said, I need you to do something for me. I need you to make me a promise that you'll hold on until I get back, you know? Like, let me close this up until I get back. And that number one rule is Kensington has got to finish school, so she can't be here taking care of you all the time. You know, like, let other people step in. So he wrote, you know, Kenzie was like, you need to go to school, finish all that up, like, I'm okay. So anyways, finished, I got the certificate for work thing, came, it was the 13th, I came, I stayed with him, with the girls, and then he passed away on the 16th. Yeah, he passed away on the 16th, and then, you know, I had this experience. It was just, I'll share this, but it's very, very personal, but I'll share this because I think that this was the universe saying, like, thank you, you know, because it was so messy and so anything, but love's not linear at all. It's messy and it's beautiful and it's all the things. And it ended up being the four of us, and we were in his bed in his living room, and the girls were on each side. And I was sitting on the couch, and I just heard this voice that said, go sit on the bed. And so I went and sat on the bed, and I was just watching the girls talk to him. And then it was like we were in this bubble, and it was just warm, and there was like everything fell back. And it was just this warmth, and we were just light, you know, just the four of us. And then it was like an osmosis. I just saw his spirit, I guess, just come up, just like this. And it was just this osmosis, and it just lifted. And I just felt this feeling just like, it was a gift. It was the most beautiful thing that I've ever seen. And it healed the four of us. And the reason why I'm telling you this story, as crazy as it is, because I manifested Mike in that relationship, but I also feel that he brought him to me.
Oh my gosh.
I really do. And like Mike and I, like when we met, it was like, you know, you've heard of universal strings, like
Yes.
all of these things, and like everything just lined up so perfectly. And then when we got, you know, when we sat and talked and stuff, it was just, I recognized a familiarity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that's what made it so comfortable.
Oh my gosh, that's so beautiful.
That's my story.
Thank you.
I didn't
you for
even know any
sharing.
of that.
I know it's so cool to start these interviews and you don't know where they're going to go, but like to take the time to get into that. Thank you for sharing. First off, I love what you said about love not being linear. We've experienced that. We've talked about that. Of it doesn't necessarily make sense when you look at it in our timelines or how that works, but the result is healing.
Yeah.
The result's love, and then to see how you feel that he brought him to you, that's incredible. I mean, our third episode of our show is she calls Romeo, her son, her little wingman, because he set us up. Like, he
Yeah.
picked us out, and we're
Yeah,
confident of
I
that.
love
So to hear you say the same thing is like, I believe
Yeah.
that wholeheartedly.
Yeah. So he was my greatest teacher, and that's the kind of love that was. And Mike, without a doubt, is my peace.
Oh, that's so sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy. So we call Romeo my little wingman, but we also say all the time that we totally manifested each other too. It's crazy because the day that I met Connor, he literally wrote down in his journal this whole list of what he wanted in a woman. And if you were to read his list, you would say, I mean,
Oh, she's going to say it. She's like, that was me, but it's true.
it's
a description.
crazy. It's like he perfectly describes me.
Yeah.
It's real.
And also being so confident that a few years ago I wasn't ready for her, right? And the same thing is that you know, in that position, you wouldn't be ready. So thank you for sharing that. Let's get back to Mike. So now, like, you guys decide, this is it. This is different. And I love that you talked about peace. So, like, how did that show up? And when did you make the move from getting denied at the Hampton Inn to
We're back at Hampton
now
Inn.
we're back? How'd you circle
Yeah,
back
I
to the
rebounded.
Hampton?
Yeah. You know, so on our third date, she laid a kiss on me that I'll never forget. That was the, hey, I want you to remember me kiss. And we had been talking about it. I'm like, I wanted her to get a view into my life. And so I wanted to invite her to Texas before I moved to Utah to say, hey, I want you to see my life. I want you to see who I am. You know, not to meet my kids, but actually just to get to know me. And so I invited her to come to Texas. Texas was actually the time where it was Friday through, I think, Sunday that she came. And she told me when we were in one of our dates, she's like, I love cabins by lakes. And there's a beautiful lake with cabins just on the Texas, Oklahoma, Arkansas border. It's called Broken Bow. And I'm like, why don't I take you for a day? Let me kind of take you around Dallas, but why don't we just get out of town and let's just go have fun? And so I was able to take her to some fun places in Dallas, but it was actually the road trip to Oklahoma, to that lake. She said this later, she's like, it's just so interesting that we're so comfortable, because silence was okay. Listening to tunes or actually just tuning into the beautiful countryside, it just felt, she used this word, familiar and comfortable. And it was that way the entire weekend. It was just easy and it was fun, and we still had really deep conversations. She had shared with me that Adam, who we were talking about, her husband, ex-husband, who passed away, was the love of her life. And I understood that because I loved my ex as well. You know, love is different. There's different versions of love. And I didn't feel threatened by that at all. I thought that was actually a beautiful thing. It wasn't until you kind of fast forward the tape that I didn't realize that he had a hand, you know, kind of behind us. And when she read her manifest, it was me, right? I was like, that's me. You manifested
Perfectly
me.
described you.
And so when we wrapped up that trip, she was leaving, and she wears this scent that's incredible. And that scent was permeating
Should we do an ad?
my house.
Should we be like, let's come
I can't tell you the scent because it's a Lexi scent. It's amazing. It smells incredible, and I could smell that for weeks after she was gone.
Is it just her natural scent, her perfume, or?
It's her perfume. Yeah, it's the perfume, and I could smell that. And she said something when she was leaving. She's like, "I just feel at peace. Like you make me feel at peace." And to me, that was the best compliment that she could give me because I'm like, that's what I want. I want to be peace with you. I want to build a life. And so I told her when she left, when she got back to Utah, I'm like, hey, I want to be intentional. I'm like, that was beautiful. Like I really enjoyed the time with you. I'm like, hey, I want to be intentional. I'm okay just saying, hey, I want to get to know you. In the world of dating apps and all this kind of stuff, I was like, I don't need selection or FOMO. I'm like, I found something that I think is really, really beautiful. I'd like to explore it. And I knew I was moving to Utah. So that to me was the point where I was like, all right, I really want to get to continue to know this beautiful person. It was, that. And so by moving to Utah, getting to know her more, when we moved in together, so fast forward the tape from about July of 2.5 years ago, almost 3 years ago, to now, we moved in, about 6 to 8 months later after we started really dating. And it was the exact same. It was easy. It was comfortable. It doesn't mean we have different personalities and different views, but it was just so comfortable being together. And I thought that was such a good validation of wow, this is exactly what we were both looking for, something that we're going to complement each other, but actually just felt right. And it felt right from the first day that we moved in together.
Because, the older you get, like I was saying, you're set in your ways and all that stuff. So it just worked.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And so to talk through some of those shifts of all of a sudden you're both, working professional careers, you've got your things going on, you both have kids of your own, right? And then all of a sudden you mesh this. So what did that mesh look like? It was comfortable, but how did you talk through that transition?
Yeah, go babe.
Well, the work stuff was actually, that's one of the things that why it works so well, because we're both in sales. We're on the road all the time. So he just got it, So it was like, that was easy because I didn't have to worry about taking care of somebody else. Like they got the work schedule, and that just makes such a difference.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would just say then we had to be super intentional because she was traveling, I was traveling. So when we were together, we had to make sure we were together. We were present, right? And we were cherishing that time because we didn't have a chance to spend a ton of time together, even though we lived in the same house. Sometimes it was weekends and sometimes it was short weekends. And so it just meant that we were actually really prioritizing each other when we were together.
Being intentional.
With our time.
That makes a lot of sense.
So now that I'm off the road, that's been a transition for us because we spent a lot of time apart. So I'm thinking in the back of my head, like, I wonder how this is going to go.
How am I going to like him?
Are we going to like each other when we're in each other's face all the
She
time?
actually said that. She's like, do you think we're going to like each other? We're going to enjoy hanging out? I'm like, I hope so. Yeah, I think so. We'll see, right?
Yeah, but all good.
So let's walk through that decision. So you decided, you've been on the road for a lot of time, and we're talking pretty heavy work travel, right?
Yeah.
Weeks on the road, a lot of nights in a hotel room, bouncing around from place to place. What made you decide to stop that?
Because I want to be the architect of my own life. And I don't believe in balance, but I do believe in harmony. And I took a look at the 4 quadrants of my life and realized that I was totally off balance because I was burning the stick at both ends. And I was running on fumes. So I can't uphold a good marriage if I'm not my best self. And I mean, let's face it, like my priorities have changed having the experience, of seeing somebody pass. And so it's kind of like looking at your own mortality, like, okay, what matters? What do I want to be remembered for? Is it that you're an executive? Is it what's in your bank account? Is it your type? No, not at all. I was lucky enough that I had my mother help me, thank God, with my 2 girls and thank God my girls are great girls, and I think they've learned in a backhanded way, not of what not to do from me, right? And I was gone all the time, but some way, somehow, they're amazing little humans.
There's lots of ways to learn.
Yeah, but what I want, you know, in this next chapter is I want to make roots in a home and have new traditions and want the kids to come and hang out and want to be there. And I
Right.
want to
Your
show them
priorities shifted.
a good example of what a good marriage looks like.
Right. Yeah, that's beautiful. Mike, I have a question for you.
Sure.
You said something interesting to me. You said that when you were with your ex-wife, she was growing and you weren't. You were complacent.
Yeah.
Did she ever push you to grow, or?
She did, yeah. So, you know, she was, not to tell her story, but she was dealing with childhood trauma and those kind of things. I just didn't understand it. I didn't get it. I didn't grow up with that, right?
Oh, okay.
And so I always felt like she was stuck. And I was, she would say, "Hey, you're the rock of the relationship," et cetera. I think I started to treat her like she was fragile when the reality is she was actually working on herself, working through those things, working through all the hard stuff. And when she challenged me to work on the hard stuff, I avoided the hard stuff. I'm like, hey, life is good. Well, I don't want to go there.
You don't have a reason to
I had no reason.
Yeah.
The real reason is I should have actually dug in so that I could actually connect with her on a different level. And it was, I traveled a lot as well, and so our lives kind of drifted apart. She was a stay-at-home mom, amazing mom, plugged into the kids. I'd come home over the weekend. We prioritized our kids over ourselves a lot of times.
That happens a lot.
She needed a break. I wanted to kind of feel, I wanted time with my kids, you know, the dad time. So just over time, it's really easy to look at where the kind of the divergence occurred. She was continually working on herself. And I thought, oh, hey, physically, you know, work out, those kind of things. That's just one aspect. And I think, you know, Lexi was talking about the 4 quadrants. She was really advancing herself across a lot of those. And I didn't realize that. I didn't actually realize that until later when I look back and say, you actually outgrew me.
Wow.
And I think that was actually really the thing, which is when you try to put a marriage back together, I still was trying to figure myself out, right? I had to go through a really low point in my life to actually step back and be honest and say, hey, where are your gaps? And that was a hard couple years, but probably the most transformative couple years. That was the work I had to do to be ready to meet Lexi, is I had to actually just take accountability and just own my shit. And that was really hard to do because I never wanted to own that. It was I wasn't trying to make someone else the villain of the story, but it was much easier to do that because I had all my stuff together, where I knew inside I didn't. I had fears and belief systems and those kind of things, but it wasn't until I got low enough where I realized, wow, and creating a community around myself that I felt safe enough to share what was really going on inside me, and I realized I didn't know how I felt. I had numbed myself out so much. I didn't know how to actually even describe a feeling, an emotion, besides very, very basic things.
Right.
And so I had to go on my own journey to kind of unravel myself, and it was a super beautiful journey. And through that journey, really did a lot of healing with my ex.
Yeah.
Because it was really, really very similar to Lexi's story. It's really, really hard. When you're breaking up a marriage of 20 years, it's hard.
So looking back at your rock bottom, it's easy to say when you're at your rock bottom, it's easy to think that it's really bad and really hard and not good, and to feel mad and feel angry and to kind of feel bad for yourself. But looking back, it's now easy to be like, oh, that was so good for me. Like, I needed that.
Yeah, I remember being in some groups where they're like, hey, you'll look back and this will actually be a blessing.
Right.
I was like, no way. Like, this is this is shitty, right? Like, this sucks. And you know, I had challenges with my daughters, right? So you know, I had to kind of rebuild myself and rebuild myself in an authentic way, even with my kids and my ex-wife, and even with myself. I had to start with myself. When I was going through rock bottom, I finally realized, hey, the only person I can control is myself. The only work I can do is on myself. And by doing that work, I want to be an authentic version and a present version. One of the things I realized in my life is I wasn't present in a lot of my life. You know, I run a sales team, and so a lot of times I was actually on the next deal or the next trip or The only time I felt like I was super present was actually when I was with my daughters. Plugged in, because I'm like, hey, I want to be here. But actually, a lot of parts of my life, I actually felt like I was somewhere else. And so it was that rock bottom where I'm like, all right, I'm present. I need to be present. I want to be present in my life. I don't want the rest of my life to actually go by, and for me to look back and say, I didn't participate in that journey. And so it was. I look back now and say that was actually the biggest gift, even though it was really, really challenging for me, because it forced me to get real.
Yeah.
I love that. So you were living together for a little while, you start making some changes, and then what made you make the decision to say, all right, let's get married? Like, was that decided pretty early on, or how did that look?
I think Lexi had dangled the marriage thing for quite a while, and I was like, yeah, I'd love to get married to you. What we did is when we decided to move in together, we kind of postponed the marriage thing, saying, hey, let's move in together, let's build a life together. I think, what Lexi was doing is also testing me a little bit to say, hey, is he willing to take the next step? So moving in together was the next step. Like, hey, I want to commit that, hey, let's start to build a life together. The beautiful thing about that is her daughter works for the American Cancer Society. And we attended an event, a gala that she hosted, and we actually bid on some French Open tickets. I'm a huge tennis fan.
Oh, cool. Me too.
Bucket list. I know you guys
Love
play
it.
tennis.
Yeah.
And it came up. I'm like, yeah, that's what we want to bid on. And it happened to be Paris, and it happened to be May of last year.
Yep.
And in the back of my mind, I'm like, if this continually goes the direction it's going, that would be an amazing opportunity to propose to Lexi. Aww. And we moved into our home in March, April of that same year. So what I love about it is it wasn't on her radar at all. Like a lot of people are like, oh, he's gonna propose.
Yeah.
Did it surprise?
Okay. I was content because we moved in together.
Right.
So I was like, okay.
So you had dangled the carrot, and then you let it go.
And then I let it go.
And what I knew at that point that I wanted to be with her for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
And so I was able to actually talk to her daughters. I was able to talk to her parents. I was able to talk to my daughters. And it was really important for me to make sure I got their approval. And what was amazing is none of them actually told. None of them broke, which was
it.
That's
amazing.
so cool. You asked for their permission. Yeah.
So while we were going really for the French Open, we were really going to get engaged. And it's a cool story. Like the CEO of the company I work for had just been in Paris a week or two before. I was trying to figure out where to propose. And she had just gone to a restaurant that has this beautiful view of the Eiffel Tower. And she's like, this is the place you should propose. And she started showing me pictures. I'm like, that's the place I want to propose. Because it felt like you were in a table all by yourself, right there with just you and the Eiffel Tower. And the Eiffel Tower lights up twice every evening. Yeah. It's beautiful. And so I'm like, all right, that's where I want to propose. So that's what Lexi said. Everything just kept on lining up to say, this is the right moment. And it just felt right. Yeah. So I was so excited she wasn't aware it was going to happen. To the point where when I knelt down, the Eiffel Tower lit up the first time. I'm like, yeah, I'm going to propose the first time, because then the second time we can enjoy it together. So I knelt down, proposed, and she was so enamored with the Eiffel Tower. I'm like, kneeling down behind her. She's looking this way. I'm right here.
It's like, Lex.
I'm like, hey, Lex. She's like, what? Like, I'm really enjoying this. Like,
the show's over here.
What could you say that's more interesting than this? She turns, she's like, oh, this is happening. And it was so special,
That's really funny.
So it was so funny. Yeah. Funny. So she quickly realized why I was bugging her.
Yeah. And then you watched the rerun an hour later, the lights.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, fully locked in. That's cool.
That's so sweet.
And then the wedding, like you've done everything intentional. Tell us just quickly about I love going from the city of love or the city of lights, I guess, whatever you want to call it, right? Proposal, all of a sudden you get married in St. Lucia with your family around. Like, how was that both the pinnacle and the start of this journey?
Well, I was okay just going down to the courthouse, but my oldest daughter wouldn't allow that, I guess. So when when Mike asked for her permission, she said, I want to be there.
Got it on the street.
Yeah, that is it. Yeah. St. Lucia.
Yep. And this is the one where when I went to Texas, I was scared to go to Texas, and she forced me on the plane to go to Texas. And then when we actually started dating, she was a little guarded, you know? She was just like, who is this guy?
Yeah, like I didn't want this. Yeah, let's go. Who's this guy? Yeah.
So like, tell them about the conversation.
Yeah, so when I sat down, Lexi had been very vocal, which is, hey, when we get married, I want it to be simple and just the two of us. And her oldest daughter was like, no way. Like, we want to be there. Now, she didn't say you have to go on a beach, you know, or somewhere else. She's like, I just want to be there. I want to hear your vows. I thought that was actually really neat. I'm like, I want my daughters to be there too. And so that really connected with me. And so I committed to her oldest daughter to say, hey, you guys will be there. And I had to share that with Lexi a little bit later. I'm like, hey, by the way, I committed something. I'm committed that our girls are going to be with us.
Yes.
And she's like, well, that's not really what I want. I'm like, well, that's what's going to happen. And it turned out,
This is a fantastic courthouse.
yeah.
Yes,
Whatever
yeah.
courthouse step that is quite prestigious.
It was amazing.
And then as we were talking about it, you know, what would be really magical, she's like, I'd love to get married on a beach. I'd love to have that, and I'd love to have a sand ceremony. And so actually one of the guys in Watt, a guy named Alan Swick, has a travel agent that he connected me with. And so she has Greek background, so we were looking at Greece and kind of that area. We were looking at Maui and Hawaii. And they were like, let's do something different that's a different part. And so we landed on the Caribbean, and then we were looking at different islands. And this travel agent just really helped us find a beautiful place. And if you fast forward, it's exactly what we were looking for. It was just our 4 daughters, so my 2, her 2, and then their partners. There's 10 of us. It was intimate. It was fun. She looked incredible, beautiful, sunset kind of wedding. So, you know, St. Lucia is now part of our story. It turned out incredible.
All of our kids are the same age, so that was cool. Like they just, yeah, like it's, you know, they'll be friends. They're like-minded people. They hit it off down there. It was really fun. It was a trip of a lifetime.
Yeah, some of them got scuba certified, so we had some first-time scuba divers, which was fun. Did a jungle trek, you know. So we got married March 25th of this year. So it was just barely.
Which is the date of our first date. Yeah, yeah. We did.
Yeah, I dug it up for our first year anniversary. I dug up the date, and so I wanted to go back. So I had to go back and I can't remember which application I kind of signed up. We went to Market Street Grill, and so I went back. I'm like, okay, I found the exact date, right? And so you know, fast forward, we're like, hey, what was interesting is we were going to do it on our proposal or our engagement date, because we thought that would work better for the kids. It actually turned out that all of their calendars freed up that week for our second anniversary on that date. And we're like, there's no way. They're going to be in school and all kinds of stuff. It's that week that actually lined up for everyone.
So how long have you been together then?
2 years. 2 years.
Okay,
Yep.
cool.
Okay, well, let's do this in closing. We're new to this. We're trying to figure out a relationship. Any advice you'd give to us or other couples out there, just in general, about what's made your relationship special? What would you say?
Being present. So when you're sitting on the couch, put down your phones and just be present. Have hard conversations, and don't be afraid to talk about your fantasies.
Your fantasies? Oh, like what you want in life?
Yeah.
Oh, I love that.
What you want in life, what you want in
Yeah.
sex, like everything. Like,
Fantasies.
just be.
Fantasies are good.
He said that as I was wrapping up. We're out the late night edition.
Yeah, the other thing I would add is keep dating each other, right? I think I got so connected, me and my ex got so connected in life and parenthood and all that kind of stuff, we lost track of one another. Got to prioritize yourselves. And I remember my sister had said that, like, hey, we still date, etc. Sometimes we'll go on trips without our kids. I was like, oh man, you know, but she was actually right, and so one of the things we talk about is, hey, how do you just continue to date each other and create special moments, conversations, and it doesn't have to be an elaborate, it could just be anything, right? So just continue to date each other and put each other even over your kids. And that was hard for us to do, actually. I think we had that inverted. If I look backwards, I'm like, we had that wrong, actually.
Yep.
I'm glad you said that.
And I mean, you spend your whole life trying to prove to yourself to get somewhere, to get to the next level, to the next level, to the next level, right? And at some point, like, when is enough enough? And we're all different with that. But don't lose yourself in it. So my thing is, like, I want to be childlike and play again and, you know, get back to like,
Fantasies.
yeah,
Oh.
Having fun.
yeah,
Oh, did I say that? Yeah.
yeah, get back
We're
to
not
having
going to
fun.
do the second interview tonight. We're going to be heading straight to fantasy land. I can't wait. Anything else for you?
Yeah, so I wanted to say something, you know, listening to both of your guys' individual stories, and something that you both have said that you've come back to is presence. I feel like what you've learned about presence is your priorities shifting in life is what's brought or helped bring presence into your life. Don't you think?
Yeah,
Go for it.
I think what's interesting for me, this is my personal experience, is I feel like I was trying to run from who I was, and all of my experiences have taken me back to who I've always been, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, it does. It's brought you back to yourself.
Yeah,
Yeah. And I still think that it's, even though I'm aware that presence is important, it's easier to get distracted.
Yeah.
And so Lexi does an amazing job of bringing me back and saying, hey, you need to be present, because it's easy for me to get distracted still, even though I'm aware of it. And life is bumpy, right? Ups and downs and anxieties and being overwhelmed. I need someone to ground me, and she does an amazing job of bringing me back to be present. And I want to be present with her. And so, and I want to be present in friendships. I want to be present with my kids. So it's a beautiful gift, and she does an amazing job of helping me kind of return back, because it's something I always have to continue to come back with, even though I know how important it is.
yeah.
Love it. Well, thank you so much. That last little nugget there, I was just like, that was a drop the mic moment, coming back to yourself. Thank you so much. Best of
thanks,
luck in
guys.
all your
It's
new
fun.
ventures and your new transition with getting off the road and being home more. I know that's not all that it's cracked out to be too. That's a huge transition, and so best of luck to everything with your new phase in life. Do you have a gift on you?
Actually, it's right over
Will you
there.
bring one to us? We end every episode. Bring
Oh,
us a
cool.
guest or a gift to you.
Oh,
Sorry, she's
great.
got nothing for you. But
That is okay.
Pretty cool here.
This
We'll do
is the gift right here,
Sounds
guys.
fun.
This is fun.
Yes. So I started a jewelry company called Osha Chains, and I have this butterfly necklace that we're gifting to the guests.
Oh,
So
I
would
love
love for you to have
butterflies.
this necklace.
Transition.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Butterfly has so many different meanings. It can connect you to people who have been passed. It can connect you to your transformation journeys and all of that. So.
Thank you, Bree, so much.
Guys, it's so much fun.
Yay,
And that was so
thanks,
easy.
guys, so
Yeah,
much.
thank you guys. Good
Hey, that was so comfy. Yeah, you guys did great. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So fun.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, thank you. That was so cool.
I didn't even know like your guys' stories like that.
It's an awesome story. When Connor asked, I'm like, you guys have a cool story. I'm like, let's go share our story.
I know, thank
Yeah,
you.
no, you're welcome.
Yeah, seriously, you guys are meant to be here.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, 100%.
Good.
yeah, that was amazing.
You're amazing, babe. You crushed it.
Yeah.
Love you.
Let's take a picture on stage before you.
Okay. All right. Come up in front.
I have like so many follow-up questions.
Paris, I miss you.
The losing the
My gosh, I know.
Yeah.
Are you going tomorrow? No one knows. Isn't there a thing tomorrow? Yeah. I don't know. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh. Awesome.
Let's rip a shaka for you guys.
Put the microphone on. Superpower. All right. How you doing, Alex? Better now than yeah, you're a good man.
You guys are up soon, so.
Okay. Welcome back to another episode of Fully Engaged. How we doing, Briosha?
Doing pretty good.
We have a really, now I'm going to use the word cool, because it's not a trite word with this couple.
No, I would definitely describe them as very
They're
cool. Yes.
Yeah.
One of the
Like-
coolest couples I know.
Yeah, Mo and Kirsten, they just have this vibe to them, both as individuals, but then as a couple that like just creates this essence that the two of them bring together.
1000%. And everybody who knows them adores them, like
Yeah.
loves them, and can learn something from them too.
Yeah. They didn't get married too long ago, it's just a couple years ago, and they had a Viking wedding, like a legit Viking wedding that we're going to get the details of. This is super cool. As we're prepping for our wedding too, like we're taking notes.
You know, maybe we'll do a Viking wedding.
Yes,
Who knows?
Yeah, we just had Mike and Lexi Rogers, and we're taking notes on their Caribbean experience wedding, and now we're going to get the Viking stuff
They
going
went
on.
to Paris.
Paris for the engagement.
Okay.
And then the wedding in St. Lucia. Yeah, they went all out. I love it. All right, a little bit more about Mo and Kirsten, though. They both are like very well regarded in the physical wellness, but also the mental wellness and spiritual wellness. They are two giants and have helped people from all different walks of life in both, you know, their physical fitness that you're going to find. We're going to talk about the foundation that Mo was a part of and the group that he was a part of that, I mean, basically was fully designed to help veterans who lost a limb or who had some sort of disimpairment when they came home, and figuring out how to get them like in the gym, like doing more than I can do, and they're doing it without legs. Like, it's wild. We're gonna get into it. It's awesome. And Kirsten runs the philanthropy, like, I don't know even what I'm gonna call it, but you run philanthropy for Mr. Beast.
Well, I do the programs.
She runs it.
No.
All of it.
He told me that, and I thought that was crazy.
We'll get into all this. My whole point is they are cool, they are badass, they're a couple we want to get some advice from. For those of you who are listening to our show for the first time, we got engaged a couple months ago, and our goal is to interview 100 couples before we get married, because we want to have an intentional relationship done on purpose. We're going to learn from these two tonight. Please give a warm welcome for Mo and Kirsten. Fantastic. We gotta. Do we do hugs? Do you think we do hugs?
Yeah, of course we do.
I think that feels
Yeah,
right. It
thank
feels
you.
weird to welcome you up and just go take
Of course
a
we
seat.
hug. Yes.
Hi, brother.
Hell yeah.
Okay. Should we start with the question we always start with?
Sure, you go for it.
How'd you two meet? Like, just paint the picture. How did the stars align to make it happen?
Well, unlike the two guests you just had on, I had 0 days to be single. I had actually literally just moved out of my ex-wife's house the day before we met.
Wait.
Wow.
Wait.
Yeah.
I need you to say that again.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I know. It was, similar story. Me and my ex-wife we were best friends, but there was a
Right.
loss of connection there. So
Right.
it was actually a beautiful divorce. But I had gotten this really rad loft in Dallas. I had a plan. I was going to get an RV. I was going to go peace out on the weekend, just like be a vagabond and like explore the world. And I moved out, and we have two mutual friends that were throwing this New Year's Eve party in this little really run-down town in Southern California. And last minute, probably 2 weeks prior to that event, I looked at my ex-wife. I was like, I think I'm going to go to that. And she said, you should go have fun. And literally, like, I'd moved out of the house the day before or that day, and then flew out to California the next day, and then we met, and she completely ruined my plan.
That's wild.
You're the worst, Kirsten.
Hey, well, you know what's crazy? I think like the universe always has a plan for you, especially when it comes to your person and when you're ready to meet your person. Like, I think so many people can look at that and be like, oh, well, he wasn't ready. He should have waited. But only you truly know,
Yeah.
right? You and God.
Yeah. And she tells it much more fluidly and beautifully than I do. I kind of
Right.
man it. So I'll let her explain how the whole thing went down. But yeah, I mean, it was literally like as soon as we met, there was a familiarity, and we knew, like we both knew there was something very unique about this person. And it was as if we had known each other before. And we know we did. We've done some different things and know that we have been together before this life. So
but yeah, when we met, man, it was like, damn. Like I saw her, and there was this uniqueness about her that I'd always wanted. That you see people like, that's the one. Like that's what I want.
Right.
And then I saw her, I'm like, oh shit, here you are.
Well, I think something that Kirsten does really well is she's totally just herself.
Mm-hmm.
That's something I noticed about you immediately. Like you just embody who you are, and you don't care who cares.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. It's yeah, it was really thank you. It was very unique though.
Yeah, the shorter part is there was a small hotel in like 90 minutes southeast of San Diego, California. Like there's nothing out there. I tell people there's probably 2 full sets of teeth in the entire town, literally. And
Cumulative.
yeah, I'm sure they're great people, but yeah, it's but it's one of those towns where you drive through and like Breaking Bad was probably filmed here or made after this place. So, and it was this old little hotel that was built in I think 1907. And they had hot springs inside the hotel.
Wow.
And that's why our friends had found this place and they rented out the whole space and they just threw this New Year's Eve party. And I show up and I knew 2 people, the guys that ran it and one other person. And then she walked in and I'll let you go from there.
Well, I wasn't gonna go. I had okayed the invite to also include my ex-boyfriend who had cheated on me, wasn't the greatest person, and he was bringing his new girlfriend.
Ooh.
And in my head, I'm like, I don't want to spend New Year's Eve with him and her. That's not how I want to bring in the new year. However, I had a huge amount of friends who were going to be there. I called on 2 of my best friends, and I was like, look, can you come to this and just at least be there? Actually, 1, and then he brought Jara, and Jara is now my best friend. Second wife. It's a long story.
Not
long
more.
story.
How did we not go over this before we got you on the relationship show? That's a detail.
Yeah.
Jokes, I think.
Yes.
Yeah, so I didn't want to go there. My friend James was coming. He's bringing Jara. Okay, great. I have a good handful of friends. I have them there. It's going to be fun.
Moral support.
Mm-hmm. And I remember just walking in, and I was kind of in this like poo-poo mood, you know, and I opened the door was a lot lighter than I expected, and he was at the end of the bar getting some water, and I see him, and he doesn't look like he's a Yakumba person, and he didn't look like somebody I knew from this friend group, and he smiled, and he had all of his teeth, and I'm like, okay, who's this guy?
That's a plus.
Yeah, he's caught my eye, okay.
Yes.
And it's a small motel, and so we rented out the entire thing with all of our friends. So there was nobody else except us. And the dining room was set up in a way where I was sitting on one side, Mo was sitting on the far side, but we were facing each other. And then I had James and Jared right here, and I'm like, who is this guy? And they said, oh, that's Mo. And I'm like, oh, great, you know him. And they're like, no, we just met him, but he's one of us. And you know, the validity of friends saying, okay, he's a good guy, he's one of us, was a check mark. And I said, if he's a man, he'll come get me.
Ooh.
And
Out loud to them?
to them, yeah.
Yes, that's
And
cool.
by the end of dinner, he came around and he introduces himself, and I'm roasting. My cheeks are red. I'm so hot because the theme of the party was the animal onesies. And so I'm sitting there in a hedgehog.
That's what did it.
Hot.
I was like, who's that hedgehog? That's why I talked about the uniqueness. It was like, hedgehog. It wasn't. I'm joking.
Oh, I wish we had a photo of that right now.
I bet you've never been out with a hedgehog.
Never.
If you could re-choose, what would you be now?
Oh my gosh. I mean, the hedgehog is pretty good. I still have the hedgehog.
It works. The hedgehog works.
It's a fun one. But I'm like dripping sweat, and he's now introducing himself, and I'm like, okay, this is going in a good place. So I immediately go back to my hotel room. I mohawk my hair back. I put my wide leg pants on, a little top, and I walk back in. And we had 2 friends who were DJs, and so now the lights are dark, or the dinner is moved out, and dancing begins. And I see him sitting down at one moment, and I'm like, what is this? What is he doing? He's sitting down already. And so I go get my water bottle that's already full of water, and I walk past him to go fill up my water bottle. And I'm just looking at him, I'm like, oh, you're sitting down already? And he says, I'm not ready to shoot my pheromones at you yet.
Oh!
I don't remember saying that.
He did. I would not make that up. But then second time I walk past, he puts out his hand and stands right up, pulls me in, and it's like this salsa EDM song, and he just starts dancing with me. And that was something that was so important to me, is to find somebody who loves dancing just as much as I do, because it's such a big part of my life, and it was such a big part of healing, my history, like everything. And
How you
I just
express
love
yourself.
it. Yeah, expression and whatnot. And so to have him be able to just move, or even just want to move and want to dance, was incredible. And then right before the ball drops, we kiss, and I immediately pull back, and I look at him and I said, "You came back for me." And it was that familiarity and that feeling that I can't explain, but it felt familiar.
Right.
It felt like I've known him before, not in
Yeah.
that human form, and that's what he was talking about, like we've kind of figured it out, but not in the human form, but in the spiritual form and in the soul form. And
Your souls recognized each
yeah,
other.
and usually every man would be like, this is weird. I'm gonna run for the hills. That's awkward to hear. But he just looked up at me and he said, I'm here now. Yeah.
Wow. See, and that's why you have a live audience. You gotta give the awes. That might have been our first official awe from the audience.
Who was that?
Okay, hold on. We're gonna do this before we get into all these answers. Like, this is a new show, as you know, folks are watching. So I think we just came up with a couple new segments. Hunter, you gotta write this down. We gotta track when we hear a really good pickup line. So if we're going to ask hundreds of couples, right?
my
If we're going to ask hundreds of couples about how they met, when we get a pickup line that's that good, like I want to rank them in 4 months or whatever. So let's restate that for the camera.
Yeah.
I'm not ready. Actually, let's have him say it. Yeah, say it.
Wait,
In your sexy voice,
what
please.
did I say? What did I say?
Oh, I said, yeah, I'm here.
No.
No, that was after. Into this
Oh.
camera, the pheromone,
Oh.
the dancing.
Pheromone line.
No, yeah,
Hold
all right,
on,
ready?
I'll
Hold
be heard.
on. It's,
Why aren't you dancing?
I'm not ready to shoot my pheromones at you yet.
Boom.
Yeah.
Dance for me.
Hey.
Dance.
We're gonna call it the Riz moments
Yes.
for our Gen Z listeners.
And what's funny is some of them are good and some are bad. Last week we had someone and they gave their first line to each other, the pickup line, and he was like all getting ready to say hi to her, and he goes up. It was Mitch and Maddie Matthews, and Mitch says, "How are you doing?" And she goes, "Nothing." I mean, it was awful, right? Like
Just
that
so
was their
nervous.
first thing.
Yeah.
So anyway, much smoother than Mitch Matthews.
Thank you.
Okay. Let's just pull back on all that. So you kiss at midnight, and he says, "It's me. I'm here."
I'm here.
I can't believe that. That's wild. I totally understand that, though.
Well, and the thing is, and we've talked about this, I wasn't in that space. Like, she has cracked me open in so many ways, as far as like with the spiritual realm, with realizing there's so much more than I thought there was, and we all think there is, and we know there is now. But like, if you'd have known me then, I don't say that. You know what I mean? That wasn't
You don't
something
say
that
that
I
to
was,
all the girls.
right. I didn't,
Yeah.
it was just, and I mean, I literally just moved out of my ex-wife's house. Like, what am
Right.
this wasn't the plan, but as soon as I kissed her, we kissed before midnight, and then we kissed again at midnight, and then a lot more after that. But the first one,
kiss.
yeah, it felt different. You know, like it felt familiar. It felt like this was the right thing to do. And it was almost like I remember when I went to kiss her, it was almost like something was pulling me towards her.
Wow.
You know, the words, "I'm here," Connor said that to me a few times. And
What?
you said it in that same context
Oh,
that
like,
you said that
yeah.
to her. And it's like this feeling of, you're him. Like, wow, I recognize you. Like, I
Yeah.
know you. So that's beautiful. And that's insane you guys had that the first day you met.
It's
Yeah.
cool.
And I,
And our friends got to see that. And well, he didn't know them then. He knew two of the people, but
Yeah.
to have your friends witness your first meeting of the man that is your partner in life
yes.
Right.
is really cool and
Yeah.
really special.
Yeah. Well, I love that comment too of the validation or the approval of he's one of us, right? And I like that it wasn't he's really cool. This is what he does. This is what he's up to. It's this. It was just that note of like, hey, he's someone that we consider like in our circle, in our friends. And I think that says so much for people that might be dating out there too of like, if your friends that you hang out with aren't at the level of people that you would want to marry and date, then you got to hang out with different people. You got to be around different friends to create that type of reaction, and it creates moments like that for that to happen.
Yeah. I mean, it was a beautiful night all around. Like, and finish the story, please. 'Cause this is
The
important.
more kissing part, lots
well, no.
more. Oh, okay.
New Year's happens, everything is starting to shut down, and he's like, do you want to come back to my room? And I said, I'm not sleeping with you. So that's just, let's get that out of the way. This is not something
Yeah.
that's happening. He's like, that's fine, just come hang out and like cuddle and.
Well, before that, but the thing is, you like, and again, we went from doing that to fast forward a month or so in 30 minutes. At one point, you said, "Hey, if we date, just know that I do want to get married."
Oh, yeah, well, that was in your room.
Was it?
Yeah.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
No, it wasn't.
Or my room.
No, it was we were still in the dance floor.
Oh, maybe I said it in media. I didn't realize.
Yeah,
it
you
was
said
on
it. I
media.
mean, it was a long night. We were there for a
kiss me
while.
once,
Yeah.
just know I want to
Yeah.
get married.
But
Yeah.
she was like, it just came out. She said, "Hey, if whatever happens, whoever I date, I want to get married. I don't want to just date around." And I said, "Okay, that's fine." I mean, I said, "Well, just so you know, I'm going through a divorce right now. I just moved out, and
A month ago?
No,
you know,
the day
yesterday.
before.
Oh,
No, yeah, the day before we met.
okay, thank you.
And I said, I said, I love my ex-wife. Like, we were best friends. We've been together for 10 years. She knows me better than any human. And I will always say I love her. Anytime I'm on the phone or if we're in person, I will not leave the conversation without saying I love you. And understand there's no sexual connection, but this is my person right now. And if that's a problem, this isn't going to work. And she said, no worries. I'm like, cool, let's go.
Wow.
So, I mean, and again, because I needed to be, we talk about being authentic, we talk about being real, you know, and it just felt like, again, we were so familiar with each other already within the first few hours of knowing each other. I'm like, I'm not gonna mess around with this. Like, you're gonna know straight up right now who I am, what's going on, and if you want to pursue this, we want to see what's up after this. Cool, let's go. Yeah. But I know who I am, and I know that if the woman I want to be with next is going to appreciate and value a grown man that says, hey, I have love for someone that I'm not in love with anymore, and you need to be able to respect that. Because I've been in relationships before, I think most of us have, where the other person is so damn jealous of ex-boyfriends, girlfriends, whomever. They're like, it has nothing to do with that. And if she has such a confidence in herself that I saw immediately, and then what this possibly could be, I was like, oh man, cool, let's go.
Well, I thought it was interesting because right at the very start when we were talking, you said you had just finished or were in the middle of a beautiful divorce, right? Like, who says that?
Most
Run.
people don't.
Yeah, like you've heard the saying before, like, no good marriage ends in divorce, right? But you said a beautiful divorce, which obviously helped you be in a position the next day to where you were healed enough or open enough to do that. But go into that in a little bit more detail.
Yeah, I mean, we were together for 10 years in total. We were together for 5, then married for 5, and just lost the intimate connection. You know, we were great business partners. Our life ran like a well-oiled machine. Everything went well. You know, we had fun together, all this stuff, but there was literally no sexual connection once we got married. Actually, it started before then.
Yeah, why do you think that left?
So she was very Christian.
Yeah.
And I was the first person she'd ever been with, and like it was fine for a while, and then a couple years into it, she said, "Hey, I can't do this." She said, "I cannot do this if I'm not married." And I said, "Okay, I'll 100% respect that," but that just shut off everything. So, and then it just never came back, and like she would mention that she would want to. I'm like, okay, well then I need to know that, you know, it can't just be all on me, and also you have to recognize when I walk into the room. You know, if you're this stoic human that doesn't, like, it just doesn't happen this way. And it just never came back. So, and we recognized that. And we tried counseling for a year. We went to different things, and it just didn't work. And then finally, it all came to a head. We were actually in Southern California at a conference, and we started getting into it at the house. And I was like, I don't want to talk to you this way. And she looked at me, and she said, I think we know what we need to do. I'm like, yep. So we both went our separate ways that day. And then, like, it was hard. It sucks, you know. It hurts to see that you're hurting the person like that. But like it was, like we went to rooms to go together to get my furniture for my new loft, and it was a fun game for us to tell people we're getting divorced, just to see the expression on their face. Because we were like, it was like I was with my best friend. And we're like, yo, and they were like, where are you guys moving to? Or what's going on? I'm like, oh, no, we're actually getting divorced. This is for him. Like,
Wow.
So there was a bit of levity in it, but also we had a lot of hard conversations. But what we would do is anytime either one of us started to raise the voice or start to get heated, we would stop, walk away, come back, and then, that's why I say it was beautiful, because we were able to cry together, we were able to heal together, and by the time it was done, it was like, cool. Like, who you dating? Who you with? What's going on?
Wow.
Yeah. Now, she wasn't too stoked when Kirsten moved to Dallas because
It was quick.
it was quick. She moved to Dallas 4 months after we started dating, and the problem was I didn't get a chance to tell her. I was in California with her, and she posted a picture on Facebook that said, I'm in love and I'm moving to Dallas.
Oh, shoot.
Yeah, and so
Come
one
on,
of our mutual friends, I know, damn it, one of our mutual friends saw that, and Alex calls me, and she is like, are you going to California this weekend? Yep. Is Kirsten moving to Dallas? Fuck. Yep. Is she moving in with you? I said, yes, and she was like, okay, and then hung up the phone like, fuck. So that wasn't a good day, and she wanted nothing to do with her for a while, but then it took a little bit, and then once she eased into it, and they became friends, and then it was good. Like, again, when you handle things, I wanted to tell her, I didn't get a chance to because our friends jumped the gun, but I found in relationships that the more you can just go into it and be straight up and honest, it's gonna hurt somebody, but you have to do that, and that realness helps with the healing process as well.
No, I think that's really mature. And, one of the things on this show is discussing there are a lot of different dynamics, right? There isn't just a cookie cutter, this is the right way of, you've got past relationships or kids or blended families or whatever it might be. And so I think the consensus is there isn't a right answer, right? That every situation is going to be different and you feel that out. Now, I love seeing the speed of the New Year's, few months later, you're there, but let's actually go to you two as individuals now before we jump into kind of seeing what makes your relationship work now. Both of you have pretty interesting upbringings. Let's start with you, Kirsten. I don't even want to mess it up here, so just tell me what was your childhood like and what sort of adversity did you have?
I had a single mom who was raising us. I have 2 older sisters and an older brother. My older brother was a drug addict and alcoholic. He's since been clean for many, many years now. But he didn't make our lives easy at all, and it was pretty difficult and pretty horrific at times. But I danced. And to pay for tuition, I would clean the studio. And if big emotions would happen or things would happen, and I wouldn't exactly know how to handle those, but my mom would just say, just go dance. And so I'd, be trucking back to my dance studio and open the doors.
And you do intuitive dancing.
I do, yeah. So just putting music on and allowing the emotion to move through you, and it's not about choreography, it's not about the 5, 6, 7, 8 make it look perfect. It's messy, it's not perfect, it's not pretty, but it allows you to move emotions through your body that usually get stuck because we usually tend to want to look the other way. So that was a huge moment. It was a big moment, but it was a huge thing in my life where I was able to really understand later in life how movement and how dance can heal you, and help you work through all of those situations.
So I've seen a video of you dancing before. Mo shared a video with us,
Yeah.
and it's really incredible.
We really should be having, while he's talking about this.
We should show it.
You two, oh, she's already on. He's going to play it. And I just messed up my he's and she's 3 times. I just called him she.
Yeah.
Here we are.
It's the most beautiful thing I've ever seen.
How did you figure this out?
Huh?
Yeah, go for it.
How did I figure it out?
Yeah, like how did you just start dancing like that intuitively?
Well, dance, I was doing ballet and jazz and hip hop and the formal side of dancing. But when I would just need to go move my body and be upset or be angry and put on the music, it's just now I can articulate it. Then I wasn't able to. I just put music on and dance. Lyrical was something that spoke to me because you're dancing with the emotion and to the words rather than to the music and to like this beat, right? You're with the beat, but you're dancing with the music rather than on top of the music. So to me, a lot of dance when it's choreographed is you're dancing on top of the music.
Oh.
But intuitively, how I view it and how I experience it is you're creating a relationship with the music and you're allowing the music to move you and move the emotions through your body. And so it doesn't have to look a certain way. It doesn't have to be a set tempo. Like it could be fast, it could be slow, it could be, you're just dancing to the music itself, but the music is moving you.
Oh, I love that. That's amazing you were able to use that throughout your whole life to work through your emotions and work through some things that were going on in your life at the time.
Oh, here we go.
Can we get music going?
Is that harmony? Maybe.
That's harmony, yeah.
Oh. She sends this to me 2 weeks into our dating. And I just got back from seeing her, and she sends me this, and I'm like, really?
She didn't show you those moves?
No, well, yeah, not in that way, but.
That's my friend. That's a friend.
Yeah, who's this guy?
That's a friend, Jeremy. He knows him.
Yeah.
It's really cool.
So she showed you this video, and I remember what you told me is you said, she's the one.
Oh, yeah.
Was it the video that did it?
Well, I'd actually, yes, but that was, I'd just gotten back from seeing her the first time after we had met, because I was in Dallas, she was in San Diego, and I flew back to see her 2 weeks after, and, we had, I told her I loved her that day. Like, I flew back, we went to dinner, went back to the Airbnb, and then, like, I already knew, because we had talked so much, we talked every day, and shared a lot of things, and we had so many similarities that it was just like, there was no denying this thing. As much as I think maybe internally was like, this is going way too fast. I'm literally not even divorced yet, but I can't. Like, I'm not gonna mess this up. Like, this is too perfect. Her damn screensaver was the motorcycle that I was going to build in my truck, basically. And I was like, how is this possible? Like, it was all the little things like that, like little things that it's not this surface level shit that you're like, I love you, this new love. It's like, this was so deep and intricate that it couldn't be denied. And I was like, dude, I can't wait. As soon as I had the opportunity to, I told her. And I get home and she sends me that video. I'm like, come on, dude.
Game over.
Yeah.
Yes.
I want to ask you a real question here, because we have felt similarly of how we met in the early phase. It was just like,
So many synchronicities.
yeah. You literally would feel like you were just saying no and giving the middle finger to above if you were like going to walk away from it at the beginning, right? But there comes that point where, like, hey, you might know that, but you still are going to have your struggles or challenges or tough conversations. You're going to butt heads. So how did you butt heads and actually have it be, maybe when it wasn't all amazing, but still knowing underneath that it was like, yeah, the stars couldn't align more perfectly with this.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
Were you gonna, okay. We are fortunate where we've done so much work separately before we even met that when we came together, it was easier to have those conversations. They're still hard, and if something does come up, we talk about it immediately. Maybe not if we're at a wedding and we're not talking about it at the wedding, but we'll talk about it soon after that so it doesn't start to fester and it doesn't become something that it doesn't need to be. Being able to share and express openly and know that the person that you're speaking to isn't going to jump down your throat, isn't going to be big and angry, and I'll shut down just because of my past. Big and angry is scary to me, and I just clam up. So being able to also share that with him, hey, this is how the hard conversations need to go for me. This is how I process things. This is how I understand the world to be, and I would love if you could also understand that when we're having those hard, difficult conversations.
And we haven't had a lot. Like, we've had, I can count on one hand the amount of conversations we've had, and I've got a couple room in the hand still. Like, I think our first hard, I don't think it was hard. It was after you moved to Dallas. That was the first one, so it was a few months into it. But and literally, like, it was maybe 10 minutes.
Yeah, it was literally a conversation.
Yeah.
And this is how I feel, or this is what was happening that just didn't feel good. But we've had not hard conversations, but we've had things since then that it's just, you're not necessarily seeing eye to eye, but we can take a breath and take a beat
Yeah.
if it's like, not right now.
Yeah.
I've had a day, or this big thing is happening behind me, or whatever else is going on right here. I'm not able to be present for this conversation, and that's
Right.
okay too.
Yeah.
But making sure you come back to the conversation of, hey, is everything okay? Are you okay? What's going on? Because my default is to think I did something wrong. And so even if he's having a hard day and he says it's not you, my internal voice is saying, okay, but what if it is? And he's just not telling you.
Wow.
So
And that's one of the things she told me, well, probably a couple years ago, is that because I do, like, it's just like typical men, like I shut down for a little while and I need to go be away and like process and just get through the stuff so I can show up without exploding, not at her, but just out of emotion. And she said, look, you need to let me know, like, just let me know that it's not me. And if it is, let's talk about it, because the story I make up in my head is, and she told me, I was like, oh shit, okay, yes, got it. So, but we had that respect for each other that I need some time. Like, this isn't you, we're good, but not right now.
Yeah, I love that. So, getting to know you a little bit there, Kirsten, with your dance and how you've used that. Mo, on the other side, you've done some really cool things. So I want to ask a two-part question here. One, give the audience and the listeners just a little bit of a vibe for what you've done in the endurance world and how you've helped athletes in coming back, right? And if you need to help build him up, if he's not doing it enough, you can help him, okay? Part of having your partner here is you talk him up. But then the second part of that question is maybe what you haven't been asked before, is what lessons have you learned in working with those athletes and in working with those vets that's helped you in your relationship that you brought there?
Yeah. So with the endurance world, I started in 2000. I started doing mountain bike racing. I've always been an athlete. I grew up in martial arts. I grew up doing any and every sport. But I started my endurance career then doing mountain bike racing. Then I started doing adventure races. That was back in the day, if you guys remember Eco Challenge or Primal Quest, when that was really big. So I did that for 10 years. And I did the 24-hour races, 30-hour races, multi-day races, transitioned into Ironman triathlons, raced that for 10 years. I've done 4 Ironmans. I can't count the half Ironmans. And then I transitioned into Spartan racing. Did that for 6 years, and then went into ultra marathon, ultra rucks. Did a thing called Go Ruck Selection, which more is like an homage to the Green Beret selection process. I just like to do hard things. I like to find things that most people are afraid to do and go do them. Like when I found selection, I was looking for something different because I'd been doing things for so long. And what got me was it has less than a 2% pass rate. As soon as I saw that, I was like, that's what I'm gonna do. So I just like to find my limit. I like to find out who I am when I'm the only person that can keep me moving. Because when you're in an Ironman, it's hard. The marathon is awful, but you can stop anytime you want to. You got all these people telling you what a good job you're doing. You can eat, you can walk, you can sit down. Selection, from the time you start to the time you finish, you're a number on your shirt, and they're doing everything humanly possible to make you quit outside of putting their hands on you. Like, you don't eat. They're like, imagine the hardest workout you've ever done for an hour. Do that on repeat for 24 hours with 2 MREs. And like literally just, they don't give a shit about you. They do, but it's their role. They have to do that. And that one was what really allowed me to find out who I was, because your entire body is going against you. All these people around you are yelling at you for 24 hours straight, like it's nonstop. And you get to find out who you are in that moment, and you get to see people break, and you get to watch these cadre, these special forces operators break these people mentally with their words. And I'm like, hell no, you're not going to get me. Like, I will die before you get me off this thing. So, and it's because when I'm done with it, there's not a drug on this planet that can match that feeling of success.
Wow.
So I just like to do it, and I like to be able to share those stories with people. Be like, man, you can do whatever you want. Does it mean it's gonna be pretty? Hell no, but you can do it. So and then I got into the tactical games, that sport in 2020, where it's a combination of live fire shooting, AR-15s, 9mm, and you're doing fitness in between. So it's also a really cool thing where you have to learn how to control your mind when your heart rate in your body and people are firing pistols and rifles all around you, and you have to be very accurate with a pistol, otherwise you lose. So that's the endurance.
wild.
Yeah.
Wow, I bet you learn a lot about yourself doing something like that.
Huge. Yeah. It's fun. I like to find things that, again, that challenge me. So.
Yeah. Tell us a little about what you did with the vets.
Yeah, so it was veterans and civilians. So veterans and civilians that have been affected by amputation, spinal cord injuries, Parkinson's, and stroke. And it's a 9-week program that my best friend founded, and it's still thriving today. I came on in 2016 and created the mindset side of it, because we found that the way it works is it's a 9-week program. We fly people in from out of town, house them, feed them, all the things, and it's Monday, Wednesday, Friday of training, and then we take them on a big trip afterwards. Well, we didn't have the mindset side when I first started, and we got back from one of our trips, and one of our Marines called my boy DV and was like, I'm out, and he had his pistol in his hand. He was on the phone with him, and he heard him rack the pistol, and he was going to kill himself on the phone with DV listening. And he didn't, thankfully. Got him into a treatment facility. And then that week, 2 other guys were like, hey man, we're not right. We need help. And I had been studying holistic nutrition and integrated medicine for 11 years at that time. And I was studying Deepak Chopra, I was studying Joe Dispenza, and my buddy David looked at me, he's like, bro, we got to do something. Like, you kind of know this space, like, go. And I was like, okay. So I started literally like just listening to YouTube videos. And I would go and play TD Jakes or somebody like that and then try to come in with my own stuff. But then I went to meditation teacher training and learned meditation, breath work, went into language reframing, which was how we met through our friends who threw that party. They had this certification. So, but that's what I started. So my legacy is the creation of that at the Adaptive Training Foundation. So I would teach the athletes. I would take them through breath work. I would take them through specific meditations, and have them tap in like, okay, what are you afraid of? Like have them create a power phrase. Well, I'm afraid of falling. Okay, well then you need to fall. We're going to make you fall, because we don't make you fall out there. What are you going to do when you're out in the world? And where else are you letting the fear hold you? So it was really cool because, you would see them they would fall. Get up. It was never like, oh my God, are you okay? Because when you treat someone broken, they act broken. When you treat someone like a victim, psychologically, that literally cements in that trauma. But if you come in and you're missing all your limbs, I'm like, hey man, what's up? What's your name? What happened? Just as a matter of fact, like, I like that shirt. And some people are like, wait, what? I'm like, yeah, man, what's up? What are you doing? How are you working out? And it breaks down the barrier.
Like, stopping on that. You're saying asking someone with no arms and no legs, just that casually, how do you work out?
Yeah. Or like one of the stories I always tells, a guy came in, he was in a wheelchair, his wife was pushing him, and he had big legs. And anytime you see somebody in a wheelchair that has tone in their legs, they will walk. You can walk again. But every doctor and expert will tell you, because they have to, you're never going to walk again.
Whoa.
So this guy's telling me, he's like, well, I was riding my motorcycle, taking it into the shop. My wife was behind me. I wasn't wearing a helmet. It locked up and went end over end. Have a brain trauma. Part of my brain's gone. He has a big old scar. I was like, all right, can you do this with your legs? I said, yeah. I said, can you stand up out of that chair at all? Yeah, you'll walk. And he looked at me, he's like, you think so? I said, brother, I don't think shit. I promise you you'll walk. And day one, get him up out of his chair, have him use a walker. Fast forward by week 6 or 7, he's walking. Then a couple weeks after the program, probably a month or so, he sends us a video of him pushing his wife in his chair. Because that's what we do. And it's not me, it's him. All we're doing is giving him permission to actually try again. Yeah. And that's what we got to do over and over and over with people in wheelchairs that were in chairs for 15, 20 years, walking again now. Or veterans or civilians with suicidal ideations, like not wanting to kill themselves every day. So that's what I got to do with that.
That's incredible. So you believe that your core beliefs in spirituality have been able to help other people be able to walk again then?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So both of you are very spiritual individually. Coming together in a relationship, how do you find that spirituality together like synthesizes between the two of you?
Question. Synthesize.
Damn.
I really hope that's a word.
Oh, it
They will.
It is.
Go for it. You go, then I'll go. Because
I think that's a really good question. being able to have that type of conversation with somebody, especially the person that you love, and they're not putting it over there and saying that that's weird, you do your own thing over here in this box, I don't understand it, or I don't even want to try to understand it. There's a difference between put it over there, I don't even want to look, and I don't understand it, but I'll try to learn about it, or I'll try to understand it even though I don't.
Because I care about you.
Yeah, it's not something that I go out of my way to do. So to be with somebody who is willing to do that is huge. Whether you believe in it or not, it's almost like how he loves to do hard things. Like the things that he does, and I'm like, I don't get it at all. I like to do semi-hard things, but not to that level at all.
Semi-hard things.
But to be able to be there to support him and just say, you do you, and I will support that.
And then understanding him better, right?
Yeah.
And I'll say this, as we met, I was starting to transition, I wanted to know more. And that's also, like Mike talked about, his wife outgrew him. I was also outgrowing my wife because she was really stuck in the Christian Southern, that whole thing. I'm like, cool, I feel something more. And I know more is out there. And I started getting into plant medicine. And when we met, she was in that space as well. But I was also like dipping my toe in. So when we met, I would go see her, and she would say, "Do you want to pull an animal card? You want to pull a rune?" I'm like, "Sure."
Pull a what?
I'm like, "What the? No, yes, I will, but what is this?"
What does that mean?
Exactly. I don't. I like you. Yes, that's what it was. And then so we would
Do you
pull.
want to pull an animal card? That's
Yeah.
what it is?
Yeah.
Write that down on the list too.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
So we start. So she, you pull this card, and it kind of gives you this little script and tells you some things about yourself, or like some things you should be aware of, or whatever. And we start doing that. And I wanted to know more about that space, and I just opened myself up to it. And it did still feel weird initially, but the more we started going in together, like we would do, some plant medicine journeys together, and just kind of like just go into it, like, hey, let's explore some stuff. We would try to have a conversation, or we would try to watch a documentary once actually, and we got like 30 seconds into it, and then realized we were talking for 90 minutes. But I was telling her, but she's the reason I am the way I am now. Like she really allowed me to crack open into what I now know is so much more vast than what we as humans think and we're programmed to believe. And I was telling her actually this past weekend, as odd as the pulling runes were, I have them tattooed on my knuckles now because of her. But this past weekend we were hanging out, and I was doing a little medicine journey myself, and she was a little bit too. And we went to sleep. And when I went to sleep, all these downloads started coming out. And I didn't do a lot. Like I've done a lot, and this was like maybe half of that. So it was really weird that this was happening.
That's a quarter.
Yeah. So, but one of the things that happened was we were watching Guardians of the Galaxy. Yeah. And yeah, I know, right? And at the end of the movie, I've never really watched the whole thing. And at the end of the movie, when I guess he holds the stone, and they're going through things, he's trying to explode, he's like, grab my hand. And she grabs her hand. We're laying in bed, and this wasn't because of the movie, but that came back. I'm like, this is so cheesy that I'm going to relate what just happened to Guardians of the Galaxy. But I literally, we're laying in bed, our dog is in between us, and I hold her hand. I'm holding her hand, I do this. I'm like, holy shit, you're the reason I am who I am right now. You were that to me, because I would not have. I was stepping into the world of spirituality and trying to understand it, but growing up in Louisiana, growing up in the South, being in the South, there was no way in hell I would have opened up myself this much to what I now know if it wasn't for her. And I realized that Saturday night. I was like, holy shit.
That's pretty cool. I want to do this. First off, to the crowd, we've kind of kept this loose a little bit. So when conversations are going and they're fun, no one's kicking us out. I guess, Landon, you're here. Are you kicking us out? There's Landon. He's my business partner and just involved in all this. Cool to have you here, man. Let's do this. I'm going to go 15 minutes more. We cool with that?
Yeah.
There we go. If you want to leave, the door's that way. All right. No, here, let's do this. You've got some really cool thoughts around keeping your relationship fun. Mm-hmm. And Mo, I know one of the things you wanted to show is you said, I'd be willing to do this on the show because it's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Go for it.
1, 2, 3, what's your favorite animal?
Oh, God. gorilla.
Okay, explain it.
1, 2, 3, what's your favorite truck?
Ford. It's not. See, the thing is, like, she does this. We'll be randomly doing whatever, and she'll go, 1, 2, 3, what's your favorite? And you have to say the first thing that your mind thinks of, and it's never right. And you're like, oh, I don't want to say this, but you have to say it. We did it last night at dinner for like 45 minutes, and it was
10% right, but it's so interesting what the first thing that actually, and people will say this a lot, they're like, no, go with your first choice, your first,
your intuition,
yeah, your
which
intuition,
is true.
Your intuition, thank you, intuition is great, but sometimes the first thought isn't the thing that is actually your favorite or is actually the thing.
Yeah, 1, 2, 3, what's your favorite movie?
It is or isn't?
No, you can't. Wrong. So you can't think.
Brianna, what to do? What's your favorite color?
Pink. That's not it.
See?
It's purple. It's definitely
Here's the other
purple.
thing. Stand up.
All right, let's see the
Watch
shaking thing. Now I hear this a second. Let's get to demonstration number 2. I heard about this.
This is what we're going to do at the conference, but I ran out of time.
Oh my gosh.
Ready?
What? What is that?
Don't do that.
That was not what I was expecting. He said, let me do this thing. I was like, all
Do
right.
it again. Ready? Ready, go.
Okay.
It's my favorite thing.
We have a video of like I was holding her. She was like, "Do it." And I was shaking her. She's like, "Da, da, 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 da." And she's like, "Do it again." It's like I have a 7-year-old and a wife.
All right, you know what? Let's okay, go.
So we have a game that we like to play. It's actually my game. Just randomly, I'll be like, okay, 1, 2, 3, now pick a number. And he has to pick it in his head, and then I have to guess it. So let's play. Ready? Okay, you're going to think of a number in your head. Ready?
Okay.
Don't say it out loud. 1, 2, 3, pick it. 4.
And that's the end of the game. That's where it ends.
Okay, but when you get it, you feel so good. Like you feel like
But when you get it, she's like, "I'm psychic."
you feel so connected.
What was the number?
That's the end, or it's...
Oh,
Oh, was it 6? Nope, it's a 7. Well, that's what I was going to say.
What was the number?
3.
Oh,
she was close.
that was my next.
It was
I feel like yes, similarities
Points
here.
like, just keep it fun. I think we're all a little up, sometimes we can all be a little uptight. Speaking of fun, Kirsten and me and Bree, we wondered if we could get you to do this on stage, and I have a feeling it's going to be a yes. All right. I've never been a huge tattoo guy. I actually have 2 tattoos now. I never thought I would have had tattoos.
Okay.
But Mo was this guy that when I met him, I was like, I've never seen cooler tattoos on a guy.
Okay.
I was just like, this is just like artwork.
He's
but
been talking about your tattoos
they
for a while.
More intentional over and over, right? But it's just proof to me of like what you have on your body is so intentional. So here's the question. The camera's right here. Would you take your shirt off and just explain your thoughts of the tattoos? Yes. Would you do it? Okay, he's gonna do it. Is that really on there? Okay, we're like trying everything with this show. Let's do it. So, okay, here's what we want. Not a ticket to the gun show, although they're free.
Yeah, no, I'm not gonna do that. That's weird.
But if you just talk through, like if I were to give you 3 minutes and you were to just explain the intentionality and the thoughts that go into mindset and what's on your body.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, here we go. Bree, relax.
So, okay. So the first one. So I grew up in martial arts, and it was all about honors. We had the 3 tenets of honors. The first 2 I got was honor and courage in Chinese kanji, and is also representative of my parents. I have honor for my father because he passed away before I was born, and I have courage from my mother because she raised me. And she was one of the first 2 female state troopers in Louisiana. And in growing up in martial arts, I got this sleeve done. I love dragons. Dragon is also representative of Chinese culture for good luck.
Let's
So
see it.
it's not a traditional dragon. I had a guy freehand it, which, yeah, it's a little bit different. But then also in the Japanese culture, in the samurai culture, their kind of token flower is the cherry blossom, because they live every day to its fullest. Because the cherry blossom blooms and then it goes away. So in the samurai world, you might, if you're just walking down the road and you see another samurai, you're like, okay, let's fight, and somebody's going to die. So you have to be ready to live life to the fullest every day. And then the lotus is representative of perseverance and not giving up, because it grows out of this deep, dark muck, it then blossoms into this beautiful thing. So that's what this sleeve represents. And then as I was going through my holistic nutrition school, I learned about Gandhi and Be the Change You Wish to See. So I got Be the Change You Wish to See.
love that.
Yeah. But yeah,
Is that a
So the
spiral?
way-
Yeah.
Yeah, the way here, give it to the audience
Yeah.
a little more too. The be the change you wish to see.
yeah.
Like, isn't
And
that
the reason I got it like that, so if I hug you, you see it. That was the point. That was the intention of that one.
That's really
And then
beautiful.
the spiral, this was actually the color of it for our nutrition school. And I started thinking about it, and I was watching. I was in Kona in Hawaii, and I was watching the waves come in and around these rock formations, and the waves would come in, and they would spiral, and they would go out, and they would spiral, and they would go out. It's like, So there's a beginning, which is life. This is where we're born, and then we spiral. This is life, and then the rest is unknown. So life is like this big circle that we get to just kind of weave and evolve through.
Life, death, and regeneration.
Yeah.
That's why I love the spiral.
Yeah.
I have that too.
Yeah, my first one's on my ankle. That was my black belt present. It's
Keep
the
the pants on.
yeah.
Keep the pants on.
Yeah, so I've got that. It says karate in Japanese, and then our karate symbol. I've got my Iron Man tattoo back here. That's the symbol with some other stuff in it. And then I got this done a while back as well. For as he thinketh in his heart, so is he. Because again, as I was learning, I wasn't really spiritual yet, but I was going through my nutrition stuff, and I was learning what you think you are, that's what you are. And I read that in a devotional one day. I was like, oh, that's exactly right. Like whatever I think I am in here, that's exactly who I am.
Right.
So I have that on there. And then I really started getting into the earth elements, thanks to the little hippie girl here. So I wanted, and I was doing men's work as well before I moved here and was working with Watt and stuff. I actually did a men's program in Dallas, but it was based all around the earth elements. Because in us, we are made of the elements. We are earth, water, wind, and fire. So I would teach those elements when I would teach anything around leadership or whatever. So I wanted to get the elements tattooed on me as well, but not in the traditional symbols. So I have a waterfall, which represents water. I've got fire, obviously. I've got the mountains, which are air. And then the earth. So, and then the lion is, I was at ATF, we teach anchors, and I learned this through a neurological psychologist that was a mentor of mine that helped me go through a trauma clearing process, and that's one of the things we would teach him as well. And he would say, create an anchor. And mine was this one-eyed, scarred up lion. And I actually used it when I would race. And it was really cool because I would do races, and I was actually doing one race, and I started thinking about this lion. And I looked down, and typically in this point of a race, because I raced triathlons for so long, and when you race really, really hard, really fast, I would get about 1 mile from the finish line, and I would let off the gas just a little bit, because you go so hard the whole time. And I would just dial back just a little bit so that I would have room to kick. And I started doing that in this run, and I was like, no. And my power phrase was, you've got more. So I was saying out loud, I've got more, and I started thinking about the lion. I literally turned into the lion,
Wow.
and I looked at my watch, and I was running 10 seconds faster, and my heart rate dropped. So that's the lion is my symbol. That's my anchor.
That's pretty cool.
And
Yeah.
it's scarred because it's been to battle.
Yeah, it's been like, it doesn't give a shit. Like, it's going to get the job done. You know what I mean? That's the
And
whole
was that
thing.
your animal card?
No. And then, what else do I have? Oh, so then I got, this is until Valhalla. So at ATF, things happen. These are all the guys we've lost at ATF in the 8 years I've been there. And I actually had to put one more strike there. But the second to last guy we lost, me and my best friend before his funeral were like, man, we need to do something to honor our dudes. Like, I want to do something. And we, after his service, went down and got these tattoos until Valhalla. So if anyone else goes, we're just going to keep putting strikes on. So hopefully this will be the last one for a while. But I've got 10 strikes on my arm for that.
Oh my gosh.
And then,
How many you got?
well, I've got the runes tattooed on my knuckles. Those are symbolic of when we moved. Those just told stories of, it was literally like, I pulled these specific runes, and it literally was almost verbatim of, you're leaving this life, you're leaving an old life, stepping into a new life. Here's what to be cautious of. Here's what to do. It was like word for word, like an elder teaching me. And I pulled them in sequence. And the funny thing is, before we moved here from Colorado, I pulled the exact same runes in the exact same sequence.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's pretty incredible.
Yeah. And then,
They're about to send us to commercial. You've
yeah.
got 10,
Yeah.
15
Oh,
seconds.
then I
Go.
got, the time is now, which is be present. This is the only time that matters. Zeros are every night. The clock strikes midnight, you have a new day. So always a new start. This is the only time that matters.
I love it. I love that. So Connor and I have a pretty cool tattoo story. The very first tattoo that Connor ever got was a spiral. And he got the spiral over his heart. And we looked at that and we looked to see the date of when he got the spiral. And he got the spiral the week of my son's passing.
Dang.
Yeah.
Because he was asking himself, what was I doing on the worst day of your life? And he was intentionally putting a tattoo over his heart that to me represents life, death, and regeneration.
Yeah.
Love that.
Yeah, it was, well, we went and looked at the pictures, and the pictures from the day of Romeo's accident is a picture of me reading The Untethered Soul. So Michael Singer, who's my man, reading The Untethered Soul is the one, and I'm at a pool. And I'm at a pool, and then I have screenshots right next to it of the tattoo ideas. So that day of her accident, I was sitting at a pool in that mode of like really trying to figure out what I was gonna get this tattoo of and really figuring that out and knowing why that meant so much to me. So yeah, kind of crazy. And then she came home from a girls' night one night and she's like, I have a spiral now. This is when we were just dating. And I'm like, I think she likes me. Yeah,
There
she
you go.
gets spiral. And she's like, no, it means this, and that. I'm like, no, it doesn't.
I was
have
at
a
a
spiral.
girl-
I have
I
one
was-
tattoo.
I was at a girls' event and they were doing like pop-up tattoos and they had a little stitch sheet. And I saw the spiral and I was like, what if I came home with a spiral? And I asked my friend and she's like, Connor's totally obsessed with you. He's gonna love it. And so I got it and yeah.
I thought it was a good sign. All right. Okay, let's wrap up with this. We got to hear about the Viking wedding. So obviously you guys are interesting. You're intentional about everything you do. You're not just going to go down and have some wedding that's just because we're told this is how it's done. Like you thought about us. Give us the thought process through it and tell us a little bit about the night or the day.
And let's pull up the picture.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, Swedish and Scandinavian descent, everything in my history and
Yeah, me too. Swedish.
yeah, yay, power, is Germanic tribes. Like all of that is very northern, so that's my
so cool.
heritage. But then you had a experience with the boys.
Oh yeah. So that's my best friend. Me, him, and another one of our best friends were out in my backyard while she was out. She was actually working for Beast at the time, so she was in North Carolina. We were doing a little mushroom journey in my backyard, and I was over the corner, and it just came to me, and I walked over. and was like, "I'm going to propose to Kirsten," and they were like, "Oh my God, you thought we were three girls?" Like it was just they were so excited for me. So then they were like, "It's going to be a Viking wedding. You're going to do it in the mountains." Like they literally like they said, "It's going to be a Viking wedding. You're going to have furs. We're going to do it in the mountains." We're living in Texas. I'm like, "Yeah, this is what we're going to do." We moved to Colorado. We got married in the mountains in Viking gear.
Whoa.
That is so cool. So cool.
That's amazing.
And what was different about that? Like how did you do the ceremony?
We had we had both of our bow and arrows on each side, so that was kind of representing just just how different we wanted to be and how we are, and bringing some of our personality into that. We asked the guests. We said you can either come as you normally would go to a wedding, or you can get all decked out as a Viking yourself. And then one of my best friends, Jera, who I met her the same night I met Mo, second wife. She is a beautiful, beautiful writer and wrote, usually in a Viking marriage, you pass each other the family sword. We don't have swords, but we had arrows. And so before that, she had come in and she was there for like a week before, and she took us each into a store separately to buy the arrow. And so she read this beautiful, beautiful writing and then had us exchange arrows.
Yeah.
Wow.
And we only had anyone who was at that wedding had something to do with our relationship.
Right. You
So-
had your friend officiate the wedding, right?
Yeah. Oh, I mean, there's no other human that would do it.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So because he knows me so well.
And he's the one who you did all of that what
Yeah,
was
he was
it?
the founder. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Amazing.
And he knew her so well, and that's who we wanted to marry. It's like we didn't want someone just come up and do some, vanilla. Hey, here's these. You don't know us. So everything was very intentional. The people that were there were intentional. And it was really cool because we had two groups of friends that didn't know each other, but by the time it was over, everybody was like locked and loaded together. Like everyone came together, and that's one of the things they kept saying to us, was like, man, y'all have some really good friends. We're like, you're right, we do. We're really, like, we're very intentional about who we pick to be in our circle. There's no surface level bullshit. Like, we're all, you know, we know each other very, very well. And it was just a beautiful melding of these humans together. That was the beauty of the whole thing. Like, this was amazing. But us being able to have our friends witness it, and it be a whole 3-day deal. And same thing, like we got married the day before we met as well. We were going to do it on New Year's Eve, but we couldn't.
On the date.
Yeah.
The same
On the
date
date,
before
yeah.
you met. Oh,
Yeah.
that's
So-
so sweet. And you have a moonstone wedding ring.
I do.
I
do.
love that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Twitty.
You love it.
Powers unite.
I love just from the meeting and then hearing your background all the way through this, it aligns and it's really cool. And you can't, one of the things that I'm excited about and that we're excited about with this show is you can't fake chemistry, you can't fake a dynamic, right? And especially I think so many people that we follow online or you know one of them, right? And it's gonna be cool to see what is the relationships like? You know, how do they talk? And just, it's fun. So I appreciated that tonight. Let's do your gift in just a second. Let's do the WTF minute. So I actually forgot to do this to our guest earlier. Mike, if you want to do this in a second, we can. But we believe in the law of abundance. So for anyone that comes on and really pours into our community, we want to give them the chance to pour for us to pour into whatever they're doing, right? So we do it kind of fun. Today's day and age, you got to be able to get it out fast. Our attention spans aren't very long, so we put 60 seconds on the clock, and we give you just 60 seconds to tell us about whatever you're doing, how people can connect with you, or be a part of whatever it is that you're building. And you're a cool couple that you both have your separate stuff, so we are going to have both of you do it individually. Who wants to go first? Oh, Bree, I like this. You timing it.
Okay, I'm
You
gonna
time
time
it.
it.
Mo's going first. Oh, this is his
Do
logo
I stand
behind you
up?
here. You can stay sitting down, but just look right in that
Okay.
camera right there. This is going to be a reel
Okay,
that we
you have
post on
60
WTF later on,
seconds.
60 seconds.
Ready and go.
All right, so my company is called Stay Ready, the Stay Ready movement. So what I've created is a way of training and being that keeps you ready for anything at any time under any circumstance. So I train you for power, for endurance, for mobility. But the beautiful thing I also train you with is mindset. So we go through breath work, we go through meditations. So whether you want to do a Spartan race, an Ironman, a trail run, or if a life event happens to you, you're ready for it. And that's the whole point of it. Because we know so many people that are good at being strong or they're good at endurance, but they're not good at both. And in life, you have to be good at everything or you're not going to be good at anything. And that's what the Stay Ready movement's about.
Done in 35 seconds. Okay.
Awesome. I've done mobility and breath work and all sorts of things with Mo, and there's a grounded nature to you that it inspires confidence in other people, and I watched it not only happen with me but for other people. So absolutely, I would tell you to go check that out. Good work, Kirsten.
Ready?
You're
It's really
next.
hard to follow.
No. If
but-
you need to stand up and dance, or do whatever while you do, you can.
Do a little jig.
That's right.
Okay, ready and go.
So School of Badassery is for women to understand who they are under all of the programming, the conditioning, the masks, the roles, come back to themselves and actually remember who they are at the core, outside of being a mom, outside of being a business person, outside of whatever those roles are. But we do it with grit and grace. We don't have to choose a side. We don't have to be too far in our masculine or too far in our feminine. You can find your own ingredients in this dance within that. We do breath work, we do meditation, we do somatic release through dancing and movement. It's all about understanding your body and building that relationship with yourself so that you can expand outwards and affect the little girls who are watching you, or the women who are watching you, the people who are in your circle, and even outside of that circle, to change the landscape of future history for women.
At 57 seconds. Is that a women's group or is it a school?
Yeah, it's a School of Badassery, and then the membership is House of Grit and Grace.
Very cool.
There's also going to be a self-defense component to it.
Yes.
Self-defense too.
As advertised tonight, is this a cool couple? Yes. All right. You have a gift
Oh, yes.
here at the end for Kirsten.
Yes, I have a butterfly for you.
Thank you. Thank you, thank you.
Yes.
I love it. Anything you want to say?
Yeah, I really appreciate you guys opening up about your stories. We didn't get to go too far into your story, but you are one of the coolest women I've ever met, especially with what I said earlier. I feel like you just are yourself so powerfully. That's why when you're talking about your school that you're doing, I'm like, you are the person to do that. Like, you just totally embody who you are. So I hope that butterfly can be another embodiment of that for you.
She brings it out in people. That's her gift.
Yeah, definitely.
I love it. Absolutely. Okay, well, thank you so much for having all
Yeah.
of us. This is so fun. Appreciate it.
Yeah.